I've got Rebecca Lloyd actually waiting in the wings. Rebecca Lloyd is from Fair Business Australia. You may have heard of it. Lots of my subscribers and viewers have been asking me, what the hell do we do with this oncoming storm, pardon the pun, that is the Director's ID. Now we know this Director's ID system is linked to the digital identity system because for the most part, what they want us to do is to go on, set up a MyGovID account. Now, MyGovID is basically the digital identity system in beta. That is, there's people that are voluntarily signing up for this digital identity, would you believe it or not? We're all trying to fight it. But the government has now mandated that all company directors in Australia must have a director's ID. Now, a lot of questions. It's not exactly the same as a digital ID, but as I said, in order to get the director's ID, you pretty much need to go through the process of getting a digital ID at the MyGovID hub. So I'm going to bring in Rebecca now to have a talk to us about some of the information that she's found out about this director's ID and how people might be able to wriggle around the rules that ASIC and the Commonwealth Government have put in place. Great to have you here with us, Beck. How are you going?
Thanks, George. Going very well. Just come off of a legal seminar with Andrea Takaji, who is a human rights legal advocate and has done a lot of lobbying in Canberra, has stood for conservative politics in the past. And there isn't a lot of wiggle room right now. That's the bad news. But the good news is that people are really, really waking up. And whilst I was sitting in the wings listening to you talking about it and about to introduce me, my mind was wandering and I was thinking about the great William Wallace. And at the very, very start, it starts out that the nobles and the King of England decide to bring everybody from Scotland, all the nobles and the kings of Scotland, into a treaty conversation. And as we all know, that treaty conversation, all the nobles were hanged and only a few people actually escaped because they weren't there in the first place. And I really feel that what is happening right now with the Director ID is taking out the nobles. It's taking out the leaders of the business community, because every company director is in leadership in a certain capacity, whether that be for a small trading charity enterprise, whether it be for a larger company structure with 10, 20, 30, 40 employees. We still have a leadership sphere around us. And if we bow to what the government is mandating us to do, there's that word again, then why would we not encourage all of our employees to just go and get it, just go and get it, just go and get it? And history repeats itself again and again and again in much shorter time frames. So some of the questions that need to be asked are, why was there no information put out by the government? I am a company director. Fair Business Australia is a company. I was a sole trader, and I really wanted to, look like I was doing something for the people. So I decided, let's land on a company structure. Let's not just be a sole trader. I didn't even know about this Director ID until someone called me on the phone and said, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I said, what is this? I went searching through my emails from my accountant. I found it in the spam. So it's not even important enough for it to go past my email server to get through to me. There's been no government information. It's all rolled out via the accountants. And I think that that's a very, very sneaky way of doing it. Many directors have just gone and gotten it because they're busy and they just want to get on with it and they didn't see the point. And now they're backtracking. They're going, I don't want this. I want to undo it. So far, it seems like we can't undo it. But the good news is that lots of people are waking up. So you have three options, ladies and gentlemen. One, you do not comply and you face a $13,000 to $1 million fine. And who's to say they won't continue to fine you again and again and again? Who knows? Because it is in legislation now. Number two, you could comply and go and get that ID and just hope that it doesn't go through to a digital ID. Hope for the best. Just like the Scottish warlords did when they went to have a treaty conversation. Or number three, you could actually shut down your company structure and revert back to a partnership, family trust, sole trader, et cetera, et cetera. There has been some conversation about are they going to backdate it? If you're a company director on certain date, are you going to get in trouble? That's still a little bit muddied waters. But the good news is that well over 2,100 people have already registered to be part of that conversation. The numbers are still growing. I just got off the Zoom and they're going more and more and more. So I actually think it's a very, very good thing that the directors are rising up and saying, actually, we're not okay with this. And this might actually be Australia's first and last stand towards actually rebuilding an economy, so that by the time 2030 rolls around, it's not the Great Reset, it is the Great Awakening and the great rebuilding of the Australia that we all grew up with.
And we still own things and are happy. Now, look, I've got the ASIC website up on screen while you and I are in the bottom corner there, Beck, and we're looking through the penalties, as you've said. If you fail to get it, $13,200. Now, they also say there's another penalty in a separate section of the Corporations Act, which is a failure to apply for a director ID when directed by the registrar. So $13,200 for that. So, it might not just be $13,200. So I know how this works. So they've set the law up to say, basically, if you meet the deadline, you could get fined $13,200. I suspect that they'll put some grace period in there. They'll write to people and tell them, look, you've got to get it, and that will then be the failure to apply for the director ID when you're directed, and that's $13,200. Or they could potentially sting you the whole $16,400 if they want. And then every time they write to you and say you haven't got it, you've got to get it, that could be another $13,200. So this is quite serious. One thing, I don't know if you've had a look into this template letter which has gone out. I got to say, I know that people are trying to help, but this is from diggingapartreality.com. I saw it going around on Telegram, and it was a template letter for those who want to challenge it. And I got to say that I don't want to bag other people on good work that they're doing, but I just say to people, be careful about stuff like this, because it says, straight away in this letter, I cannot see anywhere in the Corporations Act which requires me to obtain such an identification. Well, let me be clear, folks, that actually it does. Again, on the screen here, Beck, I don't know if you can see what we've got up. But Corporations Act, Section 1272, requirement to have a digital identification number. So an eligible officer must have a digital identification number.
Yes.
So that's just pretty clear, it's straight up. Then we've got Section 1272D. An eligible officer whom the registrar has directed to apply for an identification number must apply within the application period or within the longer period as the registrar allows. A person who contravenes that is guilty of a civil penalty provision, or will get a civil penalty provision. So, it's pretty clear cut. So the one thing that I did see, though, was that people can apply for an extension of time. So if there's this is straight from the Australian Business Registry Service. So you can go in and apply. You may have to provide some sort of excuse. You do. What is the reason for applying? Now, you're going to have to give a reason there. And maybe the reason is that you're deliberating about the future of your business, whether you want to take it to a sole trader situation, whether you want to take it to a partnership.